Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back, and or welcome if you're completely new. Hope everyone's weekend was great. Today, luckily I didn't have to be anywhere today because I woke up and my alarm clock said 7, and I'm like, oh, it's only 7. Oh, I guess I'll get up anyway. I went and I washed my face. I usually brush my teeth after I have my coffee because they say you should do that. So I wash my face, go downstairs, grab my coffee, and then I go to the computer and it says 8. It was like almost 8 o'clock, right? And I'm like, what the fuck? Well, it did not take me an hour to make coffee, right? And so immediately I'm like, oh shit, is it daylight savings? Is that what's going on? And sure enough, yeah. I never know longer than a week before. And then there's the times like today where I just completely, it just skips my mind. I didn't even think about looking into it. But I know damn straight it's every March and November. I almost need to put it into my calendar. For me, it's not a big deal because the only clock that I have that has to manually be adjusted is this sucker, this alarm clock. Yeah. Everything else is automatic, which I guess I kind of like that I have a one clock that isn't, because if it wasn't for that one clock, I would have just thought I woke up at 8. If I didn't notice a difference in at least one of those clocks, I still probably wouldn't even realize it happened. I would just think I woke up an hour late, which it really, like, it's a weekend. It's not an hour late, right? But yeah. So I'm wearing my night owl shirt. I thought it would be fitting for today's video. With that said, I thought we would talk about daylight savings. Daylight savings is one of those things that some people like it, some people don't like it, and some people are kind of eh. And me personally, I'm the eh. Do I like it? I think it's stupid, but do I hate it? I don't really hate it. I just don't love it. I think I disliked it more at a time in the world where your clocks didn't automatically do it. Now that clocks automatically adjust to daylight savings, I don't care so much. A lot of the time it happens on Sundays. Well, it always happens on Sundays, right? So I don't care. I would care more if it happened on a Monday or a Tuesday, because then maybe I'm an hour late for work because of fucking daylight savings, but they do it on a Sunday. I don't work weekends, so yeah. So overall, I'm kind of okay with it. And I readjusted my clock. It says 10:03 right now. It is actually 10:03. So for today's video, I thought we would talk about daylight savings. Maybe a lot of people don't know the history. Why do we have daylight savings? So daylight savings was first established in 1918. The first country to really use it was Germany, and this was during the World War I. The logic was that the country could save fuel to help the war if people were using less light for an hour every night. So this only lasted 7 months. It proved unpopular with farmers due to, they would have to, milk their cows at different times because, trucks would show up at different times now. And farmers have always very much opposed daylight savings time. So it took another war, which was, of course, World War II, to introduce a law establishing year-round daylight savings. And this was just a few years. So this was 1942 to 1945. And then from 1945 to 1966, it was inconsistent across states, and there were no rules really involving it. And because of that, it caused a lot of confusion with not just transportation and broadcasting industries, but just everyone, really. So in 1966, they finally addressed the confusion, and permanent daylight savings time was introduced. And so this was the law throughout the United States and its territories. However, some were able to opt out of the law, and they did. And then the United States experienced a pretty severe energy crisis in the 70s. In 1974, Daylight Savings Act was signed into law, establishing, year round. And it was pretty unpopular, mainly because people were going to work and school in the dark. And I've even had a couple of those moments, like, I wasn't around in 74, but when I was a kid in like the 90s and 2000s, I recall going to school in the dark as well. So yeah. So then in 2005, the Energy Policy Act occurred, and it abolished the year-round daylight savings time, and it changed the dates. So pretty much up to this point, the dates were like the first Sunday of April and then the last Sunday of October. 2005 is when that changed. And I was actually, that was something I was kind of curious of, but I never really looked into it. Nowadays, I'm like, damn, I'm so sure that those dates were different. And yeah, here's the proof. But yeah, that is when it changed. And so now it starts on the second Sunday of March every year, and then that's when the clocks go up an hour, and then they will go back an hour on the first Sunday of November. That's the rundown of the history of daylight savings time. For a little additional info, I just realized that some Canadians don't even do daylight savings time, and that is Saskatchewan, Yukon, Nunavut, and some parts of BC. So I thought that was kind of crazy. Also, there's a lot of others elsewhere that don't do it. So that would be China. They used to, but they stopped it in 1991. Japan, Russia, South Korea, India, most of Australia, South America, Africa, Hawaii, and Arizona. So there is actually a lot of places that don't do it. And over here in Canada, Ontario had passed legislation in 2020 to try to adopt permanent daylight time. But they said only if Quebec and New York State do it as well. Quebec had a meeting regarding this last year, but I haven't heard much past that. So yeah, I believe nothing has occurred. Yeah, Canada still has daylight savings time, except for those few areas I mentioned a bit ago. As far as the states go, a couple of days ago, I did see an article where Trump was talking about possibly trying to take it out, but he says that it's like a 50-50. Some people actually like daylight savings, and then some people don't, and some people don't care. I'm the don't care. I really it doesn't really affect me too much. So that is basically it. That's our video this week. So once again, if you are like me and you totally forgot, today is daylight savings. You want to set your clock up an hour. So yeah, spring forward, as people like to call it. So, the second Sunday of March is always spring forward, clocks up an hour. And then the first Sunday of November is fall back, and you put your clocks back an hour. So yeah, easy to plan ahead. I just don't. And yeah, so that's today's video. Let me know, what are your thoughts on daylight savings? Do you like it? Do you wish people would get rid of it? I guess what really interested me the most is how many people actually want to keep it. I kind of figured everyone would be all for getting rid of it and going on standard time, like all year round. Personally, the reason I've always been surprised in the people that want to keep it is because, well, one, you're losing some sleep. Sure, you gain some sleep later on too, so it goes both ways, but you are losing. You could just keep it the same and then you never lose or gain, and then if you've got little kids, they're going to school like in the dark, it's not even daylight. Like, yeah, and school already starts kind of early-ish. I feel that, yeah, it's like you want them going even earlier, yeah. But then I can understand farmers not liking it, and yeah, I feel like a lot of businesses probably would want to get rid of it because it fucks your schedule up, right? You have to go readjust your schedule when daylight savings is happening, and yeah, I don't know. Like I said earlier in the video, it don't affect me. Yeah, it's a minor detail, and it happens at like 2 a.m, right? So, if you're working, as most people would, you go back to work on Monday, and yeah, you can plan for that, right? You could totally plan for that. It happens Sunday 2 a.m, so you'd already have your clock set anyway. I do think it's good that they do it on a Sunday. And then if you're a person that works weekends, then you just set your clock ahead when you go to bed, right? Like, automatically the clocks will go at 2. But if you're setting, like, say, a manual clock, like for me, if I had to work today, for example, I would have set that clock before I went to bed. Like, there are ways to make sure you're good. And yeah, and that's what it boils down to. I know everyone else will have their own opinion, but me, it only affects me if it's work related. If it affects me possibly being late for work or something, then it's affected me. Other than that, I really don't care. I don't go out a lot. Kids are grown up, so I don't have like little kids that I have to worry about. They're going to school in the dark, yeah, it just don't really affect me, the only effect I would ever, like, the only reason for me to even care is work related. So yeah, and you take that out of the equation because it's on a Sunday, right? Take that out of the equation, and what do I care, But I get that there are people that, there's people with their own opinions, and, but as a person who, pretty much works at home, doesn't really leave her house unless I am going to a once a year outing with, I'll make an exception for special events. But yeah, as a person like myself, yeah, it just don't really affect me that much. Have a great week, guys, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.